It's been over a year and a half since we examined the mainline fleet of American Airlines. The carrier continues to grow, although fleet composition, the types of aircraft being operated, haven't changed too much. That being said, the carrier is continuing with cabin changes and will soon introduce A321XLR operations. So let's take a look at all of this in today's video. When it comes to the straight numbers, American's mainline fleet consists of the following aircraft types and quantities, with data from planespotters.net as of late September 2025. The narrow-body side sees 132 A319-100s, 48 A320-200s, 218 A321-200s, 84 A321neos, 303 737-800s, and 79 737 MAX 8s. For wide bodies, there are 47 777-200ERs, 20 777-300ERs, 37 787-8s, and 30 787-9s. You may recall that the pandemic prompted the carrier to drastically simplify its fleet and remove various types from its operations. This includes the 757, 767, and A330. The other footnote to all this is that we didn't include the regional jets operated by the airline group's regional subsidiaries. But comparing the carrier's current fleet to early 2024, we can see the following changes: 1 less A319-100, 4 more A321neos, 20 more 737 MAX 8s, and 8 more 787-9s. All other type quantities have remained the same. It's interesting that just one A319 has left the fleet, having left for reasons unknown, at least to us. The jet was withdrawn from use and stored at Roswell on April 2, 2025, and has not gone anywhere since. On the topic of American's future long-haul narrow-body fleet, the carrier is preparing to launch Airbus A321XLR operations in 2026. With this in mind, the Oneworld member has 50 of these jets on order. However, the first A321XLR built for American, registered as November 300 November Yankee, is technically functioning but yet to be delivered. Indeed, it was expected to arrive summer 2025 after the airframe completed its test flights at Airbus's facility in Hamburg-Finkenwerder, Germany, in March. Unfortunately for American, the already delayed Airbus A321XLR has faced further setbacks to entering commercial service. In a comment to Bloomberg, American Airlines said that the aircraft will remain in Europe, quote, until ongoing seat supply chain challenges are resolved. As highlighted by 1 Mile at a Time, the jet was flown to Czechia into storage. Now, when we reported this story in early August, we could see this airframe's flight history on Flight Radar 24. However, it now appears to have been made unavailable. How intriguing. According to CH Aviation, there are a total of 2 A321XLRs that are quote-unquote inactive with the airline. We can only presume that the second airframe is also being stored in Europe. Whatever is going on, it should also be noted that even once the seats are ready, they will need to be certified by relevant aviation safety regulators, which in this case is the FAA. Thus, American will need to overcome all of these hurdles before it can begin service with the type. In case you didn't catch the news earlier, American Airlines A321XLR cabin will be an all-new design, from a modernized economy class to premium economy and its flagship business class. Some of the airline's Boeing 787-9s will feature similar seating, and these have been designated by the airline as the 787-9P, with P standing for premium, as in premium heavy. While it's a bit of a tangent from the fleet discussion, we know that American requested permission to staff its premium seat-heavy 787-9Ps with 7 cabin crew members instead of the usual 8. When asked about its decision, the FAA had this to say: FAA safety regulations base flight attendant requirements on airplane seating capacity. On June 25th, the FAA observed American Airlines successfully complete evacuation safety demonstrations with 7 flight attendants on its Boeing 787-9P airplanes. American's 7879P aircraft have a lower seating capacity than its other 787 models, which require 8 flight attendants. The Flight Attendant Union has been pretty unhappy with this move and said that this was a, quote, unacceptable erosion of flight attendant staffing. They went on calling it, quote, unrealistic and unsafe to expect that 7 flight attendants can adequately serve and ensure safety under the new configuration of the 7879P, especially with an increase to 51 private business class suites. But getting back to the topic of A321XLR operations prep, we know that the carrier spent the month of September flying a standard domestic-configured Airbus A321neo transatlantic numerous times between Philadelphia and Edinburgh. Aviation insider John NYC noted that the purpose of these flights was so that the airline can train what are known as check airmen. It's these pilots who will be certified to train and certify other pilots for long-haul service with the A321XLR. In terms of future fleet, chaviation.com data shows that the airline is still expecting over 80 more A321neos that are not of the XLR variety. As noted earlier, the carrier ordered 50 XLRs, and so it's expecting 48 more of those. American has also invested heavily in the Boeing 737 MAX. CH Aviation states that the airline is expecting 115 737 MAX 10s and 21 MAX 8s. As for wide bodies, there are 22 more 787-9s coming to the carrier. The 787 as an aircraft type is by no means old. It does leave us wondering when exactly American will target a replacement for its aging 777 fleet. Now, we should say that the 777-300ERs aren't that old, with a current average age of just over 11.5 years. However, the 777-200ERs are now close to 25 years of age on average, with 30 years being the approximate upper limit of the average commercial airliner. We're thinking American should be thinking of a 777-200ER replacement in the near future, if it hasn't begun thinking things over already. So, if we assume that the airline wants to have an aircraft of this size to replace it in the future, its only available options are the Boeing 787-10 and A350-900. Yes, there is the Boeing 777-9, but this is meant to directly replace the -300ER, and in fact has even more capacity than the jet it is replacing. If American chooses not to replace its 777-200ER fleet, then there would be a glaring gap between the 787-9 and its 777-300ERs. Such a gap wouldn't be the end of the world for the airline, but it would certainly have a harder time right-sizing a route, either leaving money on the table and filling all available seats, or operating a larger-than-necessary aircraft to ensure demand is met. And so, if and when American replaces its 777-200ERs, our money is on the 787-10. Sure, some think its range is a limiting factor, but when you look at how far the type is flying with other airlines, well, it can certainly go places. When we looked at the longest 787-10 routes in April 2025, we identified the following as the top 5. Chicago O'Hare Tokyo Haneda with United Airlines, Taipei Taoyuan Seattle with EVA Air, Amsterdam Rio de Janeiro with KLM, Newark Tel Aviv with United, and finally Seoul Incheon Rome Fiumicino with Korean Air. And so the 787-10 with American would certainly have no problem flying transatlantic and even serving a few trans-Pacific services as well. But what are your thoughts on the American Airlines fleet in 2025? And what do you think its 777-200ER replacement will be? Let us know by leaving a comment. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles and a podcast every week. Visit simpleflying.com.